President Obama and Prime Minister David Cameron of Britain have called on NATO to confront the rising threat posed by Sunni militants in the Middle East. A joint opinion piece written in the Times of London, the two leaders said they will not waver in their determination to confront ISIS.
That's right, and that joint statement is definitely the harshest yet from the two leaders who are in Wales for a NATO summit meeting. Recently, Fethullah Gulen, who's one of the most influential Islamic leaders in the world, spoke out condemning the attacks by ISIS. There's been a lot of people saying, where are the Muslim leaders to speak out? Well, Gulen has done that, and we're pleased to be joined now by one of his key associates, Dr. Alp Aslandogan. He is president of the Alliance of Shared Values. And Dr. Aslandogan, I want to ask you first, because I was fascinated, and Pat and I both covered 9/11. And right after 9/11, and I didn't know this until recently, Gulen, there were so many people saying, where are the voices from the Muslim community? And yet Gulen, who I think is incredibly heroic, came out and said this famous line that a Muslim can't be a terrorist and a terrorist can't be a Muslim, and actually condemned the 9/11 attacks, right?
Yes, Rita. Gulen was among the first Muslim leaders to condemn the 9/11 attackers. He actually used very harsh words for that. He said those people who commit those atrocities are monsters. They are not even humans.
Dr. Aslandogan, explain for our listeners who aren't familiar with Gulen, what's his place in the Islamic world, and how broad is his support?
Well, he is among the most influential Muslim leaders in the world today. In his native Turkey, he has an audience of about 3 million people. His latest book, On the Life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, sold about 1 million copies, and his books are translated into 20 languages, including Arabic. So his influence in the Muslim world is increasing daily. So he's among the most influential Muslim leaders in the world today.
And everybody, we're talking to Dr. Alp Aslandogan. He's the president of the Alliance of Shared Values, also a key associate to Fethullah Gulen, who was recognized by Time magazine last year as one of the 100 most influential people in the world, and a Muslim leader who's come out and issued some very strong and courageous condemnations. Tell us what Gulen has said about the recent executions of these two American journalists, Dr. Aslandogan, because so many people have been just so upset to see these horrible videos, and it's put in context of what's happened on the savagery on the other end.
Exactly. It's hard to describe, the sadness that we feel as American Muslims, Turkish Muslims, and other Muslims seeing these videos and pictures. It's really hard to describe, but here are Mr. Gulen's words. He said, and I'm quote, "I deplore the brutal atrocities being committed by the ISIS terrorist group, hiding behind a false religious rhetoric, and join the people of conscience from around the world in calling for these perpetrators to immediately cease their cruel and inhuman acts."
Why haven't more Muslim leaders issued statements like that? It seems for someone who is an advocate of peace that's not that hard a statement to make, but the voices aren't coming from as many sectors of Islam that you think.
I believe, this has two elements to it. One of them is, unfortunately, good news doesn't make the news most of the time. So, a condemnation statement, although it might have been made, they may not make the news. I think, the duty for the Muslims to be kind of louder, as you suggested, to issue those statements louder so that it will get the attention of the media. That's something that we Muslims ought to do.
Also, how do we fight extremists? The big concern, Dr. Aslandogan, is what's coming here. We're seeing what's happening with ISIS. We've had so many people who are concerned of that, and they've even said, we're coming to a city near you. How do we combat it? How do we stop this?
Rita, this is a multidimensional problem, and the solution has to be multidimensional. Obviously there is a role for the states, there is a role for the international community. What Mr. Gulen has tried to do throughout his life is he committed his life to education, because at the root of all these cruelties, or on the other side, all the human acts of kindness, lies education. So if we can inculcate human values, respecting every human, values such as this in our youth, then we will ultimately win the battle against terrorism.
Dr. Alp Aslandogan with us on the ride home today. Thank you for joining us with your comments.
Thank you for having me.
Well, as